Oh yeah.
It all makes perfect sense. Good evening. Thanks for joining us, everybody that's here at the Art House in Southampton, and everybody that's out there in internet land via Bix technical wizardry and stuff. Tonight's star of the show needs absolutely no introduction to anyone who's been part of Moving Voices over the last couple of years, but I'm a terrible microphone sort of tart, so I'm going to do it anyway. They're a machine gun poet spraying rhymes and lines and intimate truths without regard for sensitivity or fear. The host with some toast and an absolute keystone of Moving Voices. Their support and encouragement is a big part of why I'm actually here today. They're a walking trigger warning, be warned, and an extreme dinghy phobe. They're a celebrated drip artist whose work decorates this hallowed bunker. They're amazing, and they'd really like to get on with their set. So here they are, the Zempress of the mic condoms, the master of the moving voices. Put your hands together and make duck noises for RKP.
Have you learned nothing? Thanks. That was really nice. Thank you. This is really weird. It's really fucking weird. You're not at Moving Voices, just to remind you. It is just me. Exactly. So I'm really sorry about that. There is no support acts. It is just me. But yeah, thank you for coming. It's really nice to have you all here, especially everybody watching at home. Thank you for coming. I'm just sort of going to go into it, but just before I start, because the poems that I will be reading out are a little bit hard, maybe, to hear, trigger warnings on every single one. I will not be offended if you need to take some time, if you want to leave the room. We will have a break in the middle as well. But yeah, I'm just going to go straight into it, basically. But a little bit about me, my pronouns. They in there, 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 they in there. Every time you say she or her, I am reminded that I am not her daughter. She'll never be a mother, but I am not your sister. Neither am I your brother. You'll all sit there saying, be who you want to be. Be happy. Just be. But change exists for a reason. My pronouns aren't heavy. I'm just so used to it. But you're not a thing, and I don't feel seen. I don't feel there, because hello, I'm standing right here. I am a neutral pH balanced gender bender. Thank you. Just to sort of ease you into it. But yeah, that's me. My name is RKP. My pronouns are they, them, and their. I also have a set list, and I struggle to keep to them. I'll be reading from my book, but with me, I also have my book that I've just self-published. Thank you. It is available online. But I'm going to sort of be flipping in between, just sort of, shameless plugins, It's just a £5. Just a 5. This is called The Cycle of Abuse Comes in 4 Stages. Ode to the Abuser. Tensions building. Breakdown of communication. Victim becomes fearful and appeases the abuser. 2. The incident. Verbal, emotional, and sometimes physical abuse takes place. Anger, blaming, arguing, humiliation, threats and intimidation. The victim may panic with no consolation. 3. Reconciliation. Abuser apologizes, gives excuses but still blames the victim. Abuser denies everything or excuses it by saying it's not as bad as the victim thinks, as they know what's best. So, I was abused heavily as a kid. From the ages of 4 to about 17. And that is basically what I write my poetry about. It's constantly on theme, constantly depressing. Mainly because when I was a kid, I wasn't really given the time nor the place to sort of speak. So now, as a 30-year-old, I've been writing since about 25, just realised I've got a lot of content in my head and thought, fuck it, let's just put it down to paper because that's sometimes the best therapy. Oh, Jesus. What did I do? It hates therapy. I've broken the art house. The walls are falling apart. Bick, something died. It is a sign. Basically, the abuse kind of started as soon as I was born. This poem is called Happy Birthday. 6th of March 1990, my birth date divisible by 666. He searched my head. The spawn of Satan is asleep in my bed. With bare gums making nipples bleed and split before thoughts became words, I already fitted their template. My first words, 18 plus, fucked off, halo slipping, rebellious toddler worth a slapping. Genes or my nurturing, teething teeth are sharper, like his TLC. I wonder, do you think of me? Obviously, when you're born, your eyes are sort of like blue and plain, and it takes a while for you to sort of develop. I have heterochromia, so my eyes are odd. One's blue and one's green, and my mum used to, basically in a weird way, even though she was telling me how nice it was, it kind of went a bit backwards, and I actually hated myself a little bit because of it. She used to say that one eye colour was the exact same as my dad's, and the other eye colour was hers. So as a kid, not really kind of understanding DNA and how you're made and all the other kind of stuff that comes with like age and hindsight and experience, I automatically felt like I was just half of them. So I used to stare in the mirror a lot at my eyes. And this is a poem reflecting on that. They say your eyes are the window to your soul. Does that mean I owe you these? Because she used to proudly say, that's mine, and that's his, each belonging to what's stuck in the marital bed. Odd. Just like their coupling. Grey, slightly blue, hazel green. Bullied for it after a classroom incident asking Mrs. Cooper, the science teacher, why. An eager Year 10's hand reached up to catch answers and explanations of mutations, never escaping decision-making chromosomes. I was doubly named freak, but this time of nature. Pissed off parent peepholes, perverted perceptions, damning my DNA in mirrors while white-coloured balls stared back. Begging universe's symmetry, make me blind. If we are made by design, intricate movements dictated by higher powers, reflections of God's image, how is he satisfied? With these that are not, reverse my blip of existence to utero, but holes where my being is two halves of their whole. I don't want them anymore. Thank you. Now I have to sort of like go through. Oh. Thank you to my wonderful editor who put the poem that I need right next to the next one. Thank you. No, it's a good thing. It is a good thing. So usually I don't actually get a chance to explain this poem, and usually I choose not to. I'm usually at open mics or poetry sort of events and things, and it's not really the best to start talking about like the history of the poem or where it comes from. So I've always just let it sort of sit with people and for them to sort of like ask me the question. Usually when they ask it, they don't like the answer. But just because it's a solo and because you might not, I've been told maybe I should explain it before I read it. So when I was around 15, suicidal tendencies. And my mum walked in and I was just about to do something pretty fucking stupid. And this is what happened. To Mother, you've caught me in the act, and at this rate I would keep reconsider, but my chosen umbilical cord is tightening around my neck. Tiptoes and almost dangling, forehead sticky and wet, but I do not owe you the lungs I breathe with. I never asked for this. The life you made is now the life you take, screaming out, I carried you for 9 months. I lived for my kids. Contradiction of the century as you reach for the chair under me on which my foot was balanced so precariously. Careful what you wish for. The love you expose is fake. There's no snap. Expectations and disappointments. He's worth 10 of you. My brother. Apple of her eye. And I'm the blue one. Leashed, my throat is closing. Death is a bad smell. It's coming for me, the blackness. And I hear, it's all your fault. You drove them away. I want to give up my ghost, the heel. And just like I knew you would, you give me life again. Grabbing my legs, dead weight, but not yet. Every day you make me proud. I feel resentment like a flood, empty wretches clearing my mouth, holding me by my face. I never meant to hurt you. I only think of you. I love you. And she lets go. Splintered from these forever turning tables, my head spinning and thumping against the wall I use to self-soothe. You'll never be the daughter I want you to be. And she leaves, a space I stared at for hours. Thank you. It's a bit of a weird one clapping to that, isn't it? Because basically, essentially, I'm telling you that my mum walked in and kicked the chair underneath me, which is what happened. And then she screamed a whole bunch of bullshit at me and then decided, no, and changed her mind. So you can tell that I had a very sort of difficult upbringing. Constant sort of, here's some love, but also here's some pain. So I had the pain giver and the comfort giver all at the same time. But my dad left when I was about 4. My brother was about 4 months old. And he announced this by leaving us on the side of the road in Cambridge, which is where I'm from, on the side of the road called Mitcham's Corner. He was playing music. Me and my brother were crying in the back. He didn't like it. My mum told him to turn it down. He didn't like it. He stopped and told us to get out, and that was it. And by the time we got back to our house, the house was empty. So my mum, being left with 2 kids, put straight onto income support on benefits. And this is basically a poem about the food and the things that I would eat as a kid, basically. It's called Taste Defined. Mr. Snow ice creams when she had enough 50p's. Chocolate milk, but with hot chocolate mix. They call it Council Estate Nesquik. Fish cakes and crab sticks, a pink-dyed excuse for a balanced diet. And Tesco Value cornflakes. A rubbery, creamy yellow crunch. Malt wheats and minefields for teeth. An own brand custard in the can. I can still hear the spoon grinding. Strange pink artificial strawberry goo / yogurt with white cream. Proust phenomenon. Introductions to a chicken in a bucket because the oven is a cupboard. Brown liquids and slow cookers are triggers. Stealing money for bruises and stingers. It pulled out a friend's molar. Hyperactive kids deprived of sugar. and her ham carbonara made with cheese sauce for lasagna. Sweet and sour sauce, orange puddles with boil in the bag rice, and fresh fruit reduced, the shattered shelf and bog-offs. Thank you. So this poem isn't actually in the book. I had to spread them out, because I've got so many. So this one is in the second book. Oh. Hello. Shouting outside. This is called Do What Simon Says. I've had a lot going on. My memory's not the best, so I'm sorry if I fuck up. Please forgive me. I'll try my best. But yeah, this is called Do What Simon Says. I was told once that you shouldn't play with angels. They're the tendency to have halos and use them for frisbees. Relationships floated like butterflies, they stung like bees. I'm just that bottom feeder. Drips and table crumbs fed me. So don't you go waving your finger. I'm still squeaky clean on Simon's best behaviour. Some say I'm the meanest. Honest, I'm organically the greenest. Must spliffs to make you swim with the fishes. And you'll see stars with all those wasted wishes. Got third eyes like satellite dishes. I'm dilated, diluted, and dislocated. Herbalist, high grade, specialist put medications, mediators meditations, risk of spit in preparations. Sober talking, sober walking. Come on, watch me do my ABCs backwards. Z, Y, X, W, V, U, T. Oh, shit. Mining's fumigating. Febreze it or something. Trust though I ain't into quitting. I'm a bull and prayed bleeding for you. Do you need the hemoglobin? Emoviolin responding, strap me up, give me an overdose of serotonin worse than grinning. Intravenously surfing, bloodstreaming, searching for happy. The reminiscing, rebelling hippie with only the best intentions. Established 1990, nomadic by birthright in a hometown that breeds hindsight's bitches. Broken families and divorces force fears and phobias, driving foolish feet forwards. You'd find me hidden against old folk exteriors of a county's academia, holding faith in sketchbook Bibles, skin held together by ring binders, stinking of acrylic that kept me alive, and sniffing back globs of chemicals called courage. And from rigid ribs, these lungs would exhale calm, skeletal smoking the belly of the whale, filtering life's plankton, armed with our tongue so sharp, leaving toxic people half of what they once were. Because didn't see how fast he lied when those paddy wagons zoom round that cul-de-sac corner. Sticks and stones are my bones, so don't go toss them over bridges of gaslit water. I'll rebuild an emancipated street like glowing corners licked by the brink of homeless flames. I'm able. Oh, resistance words is not my problem, so fucking flammable. See these broken bricks still drip something untamable. Resisting nerves, unswallowable, stomach churnable. Can you make these words digestible? Into tears of pleasure, tears of pain, both trickle the same, so colourful. Like Emma's tent, I'll write it down for you, and then burn it, pull it down to glue. So don't drop that soap and touch your toes, take a pinch of kitchen salt, and toss over shoulders for the luck that held your innocence close. Sing in tune to eclectic birdsong at dusk, chords for hymn and hymns for the parts I do not know how to miss. Listen, can you hear my inner longing prayer to a God that longer exists? Sit back and I'll tell you some stories that sob but a witnessed whimper, a survival instinctual kick-ins that kept a 4-year-old's why dad a whisper. Thank you. So I hope you're not all too depressed. But yeah, I've had a bit of an odd life. That poem, Do What Simon Says, there's some parts in it that are a bit cryptic that some people don't understand. So I'm just going to pick out a little bit just to sort of... my poems are cryptic. You have to sort of read them to sort of reread them and reread them and to sort of understand what I'm talking about. I think Eden might know just because of... They're really, really cryptic. But skeletal smoking in the belly of the whale. But basically, in Cambridge, you have fantastic museums and all kinds of things around there. And years ago, they've moved it inside now because kids like me, we used to break in. And outside the Museum of Zoology, there used to be a massive whale skeleton that I don't know, I think it washed up in Hunstanton or Yarmouth a long, long time ago. And obviously Cambridge University took it. And it used to sit outside, there's a museum, and me and my friends at night, we'd hop over and we'd break in and we'd smoke in the belly of the whale. Literally just smoking weed underneath a whale skeleton, waiting there until security told us to fuck off. This next poem is, again, a bit complicated. When my mum left, back in the 90s, there were very few communities that single parents were sort of welcomed in. There weren't that many. And my mum went to the church. They offered her free childcare. They offered her Sunday school. And she took it. They offered her a job. And I sort of got brought up within the church. And one of the church families within the congregation, my mum got very friendly with, and their son became my babysitter. And this poem's written about him. It's called Lay, Lie, Lied, Laid, Lain. My palms hold psalms of protestant violences, an anger I thought I had buried, with acceptance, remote controls, and bin bags for ammo under ancient yew trees I climbed after each Sunday service. Lay pastors tell me now, what good will it do? Think of the mess. Trace can of worm testaments to the first disclosure. The scene. Sometime during the late 90s. It was our primary introductory lesson for sex education. Girls and boys were split in two, and school nurse taught mine about puberty and bullshit like you only lose 1 tablespoon of blood a day. During break, we spoke to our friends. I stood silently. In innocence with novelty, one girl called Poppy asked me, "Have you had sex?" I paused. "Yes," was my response. "With who? Do I know him?" I said his name and last, because it was during those lessons I learnt formally the truth about the sitter and daddy. Black hole-like drops in my gut, awareness shakes to adult realities, force like steroid injection to limbs, unnatural growth to unconsenting sexual activity, the understanding of choices taken away so quickly, like how red tides flood sheets and speedily tearing them off before the stain takes, to dig your first hole. Funerals for anatomical virginities at the wise old age of 4. I never said Dad's name, though. I did love him once. It was in those literal moments I realized why I had stopped sleeping, why I had stopped washing, why I had stopped caring. Underage and menstruables were passed unknowingly to my parent, who waited till help was needed at bath time. Acrimoniously, she confronted me closely, words spoken heavily. "Did you have sex with Ian?" Her words reverberated off my face as my ears were submerged in water. I struggled to shake loose and get out, but long hair became a wet knot in Mum's curling hand. I shouldn't have said anything. Familiar disciplinary tactics as scars and mushroom memory panics, that vicious babysitting cycle, dreading footsteps and shadows on the ceiling, holding breaths when my door cracked open, grimacing at dizzying sense of piss when he laid on me, senses dulling, playing dead, disassociated and dislocated, a traumatized mindset every Friday night. Mother's menacing moist vice grip tightened. She pulled, persisting. I was frightened. No, I lied. She shouted, I knew it. His saving grace. Thrown and left like my matter had no more weight. Consistent unkindness met gravity as spine met shame sharply on the side of the tub. Wash yourself. You're filthy. The brutal part of believe is the lie, because I never was after that. Yeah. So, for a long time, I then became the black sheep of the family. I was a liar. I was not to be trusted. No one could believe me. And it stayed like that for a long, long time. And basically, it was only until I turned 18 when I moved out and I sort of started my life again that my mum and I had a sit-down conversation. And she went, oh, okay. And at that point, she started to believe me. I'm just trying to find this next poem. But the way she brought us up was very interesting and weird. She would play me and my brother off of each other. And so we'd constantly be arguing and fighting amongst each other. He'd be the favorite all the time. And I'd be left sort of trying to, like craving attention almost. So I started acting out. Became a little bit of an angry piece of shit, I'd say. And this next poem that I'm trying to find is called The Small Print, which basically is written about a time when my mum and her boyfriend Kuma, who I'll talk about later, there we go. Basically, my mum had a relationship with him, and Fridays were her day, and he didn't turn up. So she got pissed off. And without telling me what to do, she told me what to do. I came downstairs, she was in a bit of a state, and she said, toolbox is on top of the cereal cupboard, screwdriver's in there, and his car's at the Lion and Lamb. So I went out and I kind of totaled a Porsche Boxster, to be exact. Yeah, and I wrote a poem about it. And it's called If It Fits. Silence and smiles are my worst enemy. So loud. But what happens between these four walls does not leave these four walls. Unnatural habitats. Emotional vibrations are tangible. No guiding hands. Just screwdrivers in elastic bands. Dark-coloured conversations are vicious, marking silver skins black and blue. It was a silver Porsche. Parental disciplines tauntingly tested and tantalising my brain. I have feral roots in my spine. Family branches are dead, and we were brought up like pit bulls, played against each other. Three's a crowd, no ring, just a house. And when you lose, you're in that corner, rocking backwards and forwards. Mother's milk must have been poison. Are there strings in my palms, or just a tailored blame that fits me now? Because I still don't know why I did it. Ask me what I'm proud of. Nothing. Euthanize me. She used to say if they hit you, hit back 10 times harder, just like she did. Because life doesn't give you what you can't handle. Thank you. So yeah, I destroyed a Porsche. The next day was interesting. I literally got woken up to the sound of his voice on the phone through the other on the receiver, being like, what the fuck did you make her do? And my mum didn't really know what I did, but did what I did. Knew what I did, but didn't know what I did, and just went, I don't know what you're talking about. So I got away with it. This is called, well, just to make it easier, it's called Bedbug. But Nick, it's one of your long titles that you love. Yeah. It's called Cimex lectularius linnaeus. That's Latin for bedbug, by the way. And it goes like this. I'm a poet like heart surgery. Get your scalpels. Want a piece of me? Cannibalize those thoughts with knives because everybody wants some. I ought to know better, but there's no anesthetic. Grab gurneys and watch for the drip. Judgments are sharp, ain't wise. No shepherds for guides. Plunge the morphine. I can see halos falling. Controlled substances, coarse veins. Let me open the can of worms for truth serum will pull apart for its abstraction. Like rotten crowns grinning along jawlines. This broken smile of the century for a septic tank of a story. The eldest Macpherson went and got a dog collar, leashed to God and mortar, amethyst street lights down Hull roads with some pups and a parish to call his own, hiding behind religion. And yeah, I know the postcode. Keeping evil eyes close to the diocese while you work on that poker face preaching to sheep in pews grazing on Holy Communion, bread and wine. A Christ anatomy for rumbling tummies. Do you ever get nostalgia, eagerly prizing a young girl's fingers under blankets, awake, smothering innocence to an early grave, signing the stone, it was me? Remember your gaze into the congregation when you exchanged vows? I remember the squeeze of Kathy's hand to stay silent and forever hold your peace. Is the room still enough for prayer like disassociating paralysis? Flashbacks, frozen bodies underneath with a slow building flame. Matthew, Mark, Luke and John, do they bless the bed you lay on? Four corners to the rug I've been swept under. And do you wonder thinking, nah, no one will believe the crazy. ranting and raving? Or have you begged forgiveness, something mediocre, getting away with murder, fearing revelations, the Alpha, Omega, the Lamb, service to the cloth for righteous places, the Almighty side, prodigal daughter truths from park cell block rooftops? Your born-again mother heard the camelback snap and she burst into a cry, something biblical, busting for heathens, cursing my existence. And if I'm going to hell, well, at least there's a room with a view. Thank you. So that poem is written about the person who is in Lilaid Lane. They are now a vicar. Yeah. It's a bit interesting how things turn around like that. But yeah, I hope I've still got you. I hope you're not all too depressed. And I hope it's okay that I'm explaining everything. Yeah? Because I don't get a chance to. But obviously, growing up with all this shit, I got mental health issues, extreme mental health issues. I have borderline personality disorder. So I don't handle emotions very well. And BPD is basically formed out of constant trauma as a child when the brain is still developing. And there is, unfortunately, that you can't really cure it. You can give it DBT, you can give people CBT, but it's always there. But all you can do is you can give medication to the symptoms. So I have extreme social anxiety. You wouldn't have guessed it, considering I get on a stage every now and again behind a mic, but I am petrified. And I take a medicine called pregabalin. And this is basically about my medication. And it's called small print. This shit gets in my heart in a bad way. Psych and GP gods hear my prayers. They tell me it's the PTSD. Makes the bruises to rise quicker. Trauma sets in longer. Tired of the constant getting up and dusting myself off. Can't handle, can't cope, gotta get back up. I can't, I don't, I won't fuck this up. Told to take your medication and shut. 150 mg of gabapentin with some ad hoc extras. Like test subjects, those NHS deities dished out off-label pharmaceutical skittles without knowing why or how ingredients. 300 milligram caps are recommendations from recreational users. ... It's killing people. Filmed in silver, lyrical, poppable packets, holding an untold fever. Feel it settle ya in half an hour. Feel it end ya if you don't. WebMD outlines heroin-like detox findings, a dose to melt my linguistic system. Backwards sentences say I stammer. Irreversible, says my doctor. And to be fair, I always thought I wasn't meant to get this far. All these years gone past, now I probably won't grow further than this lifespan cut in half. Not telling you this for dramatics or attention either. It's my reality, like hit the ground running. Pubescent teenage angst left me at 17, cut the cord at 20, lying, saying I'll come back soon. Serotonin syndrome meter rings depleting, fighting to take back my anatomy, ground the autonomy against sadness that outweighs 0.1 heavier, leaving depressions that are left everywhere. And now the affection on my sleeve is in my mouth beating, a nightmare slow-mo rhythmic running from an airy stampede. I'm fearful of everything. Falling broken into crumbling ruins of safety nets, rattling with more tablets because the prescriptions keep on repeating. This crisis arching is equal to how my back bends aching, senses of an unstable self mistaken for sickness. My smoke-curling phone signals, a helpless SOS. Because each time you see me, between these ears, there is less and less and. Thank you. Oh my God, I'm actually keeping to my bloody set list. Actually keeping to the set list. So this one is a bit of an old poem. Again, I've been performing poetry for a while now, like a good few years. And how many years? Does anybody know? I think it's like 4 or 5. And this is one of the first few poems I wrote. When I find it. And it's basically about having an argument with somebody where you're just not winning. And it's all a bunch of bullshit. Everything they're saying is just complete and utter bullshit. And it's almost like verbal diarrhea. There we go. And it's called Untitled. So basically, just imagine having an argument. Really pissed off argument. Inside an explosion, passions move me from within. Watch me closely. Keep your eyes where you can see, quick like freak tongue. I am near, queer, I am here. Mistakes aren't mistakes at all. Everything made everything. The fall and physical, emotional, I feel it always. Close, so close it burns, it turns and turns, cooking my insides, pickled in tears, jarred, stored fears. I am not these embodiments of kicks and screams out against the blackness, a continuous consciousness state of being. Watch how my tears reabsorb and fuel me like a sponge. I'm full of something. Let's calm the hurricane for the storm you're saving and your insisting, pressing opinion. I'm sorry to borrow a line, but what are you going to do when your looks start depleting and your family starts leaving? Portraits of family no longer visiting, surrounding, fighting ghosts, your shadows, the echoes of skins, and raging, enforcing, encouraging that useless flesh vessel you're driving. My mind is Trojan and you're scared yourself. I breathe in, watch my word soldiers marching, take a step back, perspective, imagine, yet here still you are projecting, defending still, an oil slick so slimy, it's invigorating knowing the lies you're immersed in. Exercise your fantasies, priest for confessions, the clouds would eat your prayers. Misgivings are too heavy, let's tell it how it is, shall we? Let's tell it how it is, shall we? I'm faster, I'm truth teller, your medicine giver, yeah, I'm a dick, yeah, addicted to the truth, yeah, remember my honesty defends no denier, and I've got you right there. You're bitter, colder, and louder in a crowd. My life is better without. Come here, eyes wide and open your mouth for your daily dosage of fucking write-off. Thank you. So this is one of the last two before we go on a break. And it's called Chainmail. Basically, really pivotal moments in my life I've written poems about. Mainly just because I struggle with emotions and things, so it helps me figure it out, I guess. About a few years ago, just before my mum died, my mum's mum died. And there was a bit of a issue with it because I wasn't know if I was going, and she wanted me to come, and then she said at the very last second, no, you can't go, which kind of gutted me. So I wrote a poem about it. And it's called Chainmail. Dead and buried. She's had her burial, and the regret you feel is what she always wanted. 6 foot under your feet, her promise of pain, abortions, knitting needles. You probably guilt-tripped the priest. Her flowers putrid and rotting off the wreath. The headstone like her heart beats, now a headboard, no rest, no peace. Please, as she gazes towards the eastern horizon, may she turn and turn in that hole. May she not rise with us again. This death was her apology. And I know it's the common tongue, but this silence is killing me. You and I, we've cut out another line. The funeral, an epitaph, monumental memory, the mother without her children playing the victim. Pause as you hum the marcher's note. My daughter, the black scapegoat, not a sheep, can't be herded or controlled. That's it, I'm to blame, pass the fault, sing your hymns, smell those roses through tinted glasses, blacked out with grief at the wake, but you missed out all their names. It bleeds, she said, like her heart. Her twist of history resurfaced, a metaphor, my skin, my sins, trials, terrors, my errors, saying she knows my pain, the quiet violence that leaves me shivering, creeping through my veins. My poltergeist plays with my feelings like growing pains. Nature versus nurture, growing traumas. Our parents just love us in different ways. He loves it when I say that. I creak and I'm aching. I'm tired of this. My boundary is now the skyline. Back to back, the space, stay there, the distance in between. I'll keep running this time whilst you stand there stuck in time, hoping like I did. Voiceless messages letting me know you're still alive and kicking, stolen from ongoing chains. Emptiness in the stillness in your living room filled with tears. Surrounded by photos of those who no longer visit. An empty response. Yet I imagine you are moved by the words. Merry Christmas. I start with you, and now you're on the clock. In 9 minutes, something will make you happy. Please share this with 15 friends you love. If I don't get this back, I'm obviously not a close friend. And once you've read this, you have to send it to 15. It's not that hard. Whoever sent this to you must care about you. Hang on. Are we missing something? Thank you. So basically, after my mum had her mum's funeral, who wasn't actually a very nice person, by the way, the first contact I had with her was a chainmail message, and that's where that comes from. So I turned it into a poem. The next one that I'm going to end with on this half is called Coping. And I hope you're not all too depressed. I hope everybody at home is not too depressed as well. My retreat is silence, a one-way violence, anxious intestinal snakes that slither and whisper mutterings of help me, please. The paint and words I puke, fracturing fear regurgitates, wrenching, comes in waves, rising through this throat, not to gods or friends, but to a mother who might not be there. Got a soul, but where does it go after? Because I can't feel you anymore. Only a cliche pain, no man's land as long as Bible spines. Dodging shadowy puddles, 2020 with a crick in my neck. Keep looking over unsure shoulders, tired and sitting in the corner, rocking chaos, rhythm the disorder, skinning up with bottom of the bag, Rizzler, biro stains to taste, ink the atoms and breathe, in, shaking, rearrange these particles to summit presentable. Cherie said, if you ain't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. Scruffy and feral, uncontained to be containable, desperate to be unemotional, sucking so hard on his tongue till it bleeds with hopes of teaching it a lesson. See, my wisdom teeth got rotten and crumbled, removable, easily disposable, and wary of those that call themselves family. Trust is a hard thing to come by nowadays. I want to abandon the theme where you leave me. Bang these bones, xylophone, into bruises changing, blood-blotted skins, petrol-coloured mood rings, shades that settle in UV spectrum, self-portrait Rorschach tests with scars once affectionately named noughts and crosses. They are medals of battles I have won. Self-made, but this body is a crime scene. So fuck the doll. I'll show you where he dragged me by the neck and mum watched passively after, with a son on her waist, 4 years apart, a second chance to be a father, discipline and love measured in welts and a foot to trip ya, counting down 10, 9, 8 before they drew out the spatula, the draw and smack on the counter. Fear controller. I'm trying hard to forgive those who trespassed, triggered flashbacks inside the skull, brain cinematics, hands drawing close without invitation, using bodies to break boundaries, ignoring those lined limb limitations, redder than the depths of Medusa's lake. Progress really ain't linear, but I promise you, I am getting better. Thank you. Yeah. Hope that's okay. I think we're on time for a break. I've hit my halfway mark, yeah? Oh, awesome. All right. I hope you're not too depressed. Thank you for listening to my emo poetry. Be back in 15 minutes. Bye. It's a small group of us. Is that okay? Yes. Is that okay? You're not all too depressed. Why would we? Okay. Okay.
sorry that I've been just like a wheel. No. Was it supposed to be like this?
Okay, folks. So if you want to grab your seats again or get back on your sofa if you're watching this online. Here we go with the second half, RKP.
You did it again.
Unsheath yourself.
Unsheathe your microphone. Thank you. The microphone has been unsheathed. COVID safety. COVID safety. Okay. I hope you all had a nice break. Where am I at on my set list? Okay. So, yeah. Hope you're all not too depressed. Hope it's okay. As I was saying in the break, this is not exactly an evening of fun. It's an evening of awkwardness and should I clap to that and deep thought. So I'm sorry if it's making you feel awkward. But yeah, let's get right back into the emo poetry. So, as I said before, and before the break, I have borderline personality disorder. Diagnosed when I was 18, I'm 32 now. And in an abusive relationship I was in roughly about 2018 to 2019, the ex-partner liked to constantly say that I was sick. And I just want to stress, BPD is a condition. You can have depression and you can be going through the throes of that, but you're not actually sick. And I think a lot of people with mental health conditions or mental health issues, I think we struggle with the word sick a lot. Like the word unwell sometimes insinuates that you've got a cold or a flu, but the depression, it stays with you, but that doesn't mean you're sick. It's a fine line, especially if you're having a crisis. And this is called crisis like a crucifix. We'll be with you in 6 weeks when the forms come through. She sighs. You're sick. I just need help. And this weighs me down. I know my mouth's full of holes that bite and a tongue that doesn't behave. Always my fault. I'm screwed, apparently. Will I make it out of this? But I can. I do have days. Moments in time, I am alive, tasting happy, feeling healthy, insightful, intelligent, they write, yet suicidal. How about I give you a map? My issues are in situ, stuck. I have a problematic confidence. My souls are on walls. Digging deep, I know I am capable. I know I am not sick. Just not easily adaptable to stress, man. I'm jumbled. My brain is not acceptable with the social standards of what's considered normal. My emotions scare people, and I can micro-read you. And I feel your tension. It's a chaser to my own. That's why I isolate. It's better to hide, dilute myself, because I don't want you to feel what you hide. I don't want to feel what you hide, sorry. Can't you just put it all to one side? No. Have you even tried? Do you know what happens when you move a broken arm? I'll show you. To suppress doesn't make you hurt less. Remember, for the little things I am better, but I'm still in the process of getting rewired. Confused? Yeah, me too, sometimes. See, abuse doesn't make you sick. It makes you abused. It fucks you up, but not irreversibly. Sick is just not in my identity's vocabulary. Communication is the key, and you cannot label me so simply. Just talk to me. And no, you don't have to understand. To understand is to experience firsthand, and to feel those hands on you, I would kill them. Acceptance, that's the key to your patience. I'm not sick, I'm healing. It's a process. Thank you. So, this one, probably you've heard a lot if you've heard any of my poems before. And I like to open it in a way that makes people feel really, really uncomfortable. So, my mum died, and for those of you that don't know, my mother died, and I wrote a poem about it. Because that's what you do with feelings. And it's called 12th of April 2019, or in brackets, kin once removed. And basically, this poem is written about the days when I found out that my mum had passed away, the weekend that followed, where I went back to Cambridge to view her body at the hospital, and then organising everything for the funeral to come back to go. So basically, it was written all around that time. These broken clocks are like pathetic fallacies. A construct that in essence is useless. Potent signifiers of something not quite there, but present, only if you look for it. A meta for you and me. Where is the protection from what you could have prevented in your last dying? Who are you to preserve that festering regret? Because my mother wouldn't let me say goodbye. Due to decimal distances judged unworthy for her death, each breath was a pained effort to stop fingers and lips staining blue. I wanted you to know how I felt each cough and the confusion that followed you around like a fog's haze. Physical, pickled, phlegmatic perspiration, persisting polluted possessions predictably prepared your friends, doctors and nurses, and preferred sons, who just couldn't make it in time. Lupus and pneumonia's 90% grip held your lungs to around the hours of 4 till 6 p.m. My call came at 8:17. Your passing was a Chinese whisper on the lips of Christians who said you were peaceful, and seeing the vessel you grew in, by appointment only, you were like old, cold clothes, worn but still beautiful. That silent, frozen farewell is all I have. I'm so desperate for you. Your eyes are still now forever closed to what could have been. I kissed your forehead. I held your feet. Do you remember the games I used to play with you in the morning? I would sneak in and uncover your toes and feed them plastic chips and peas. You'd sleepily move them to look like mouths sipping on cups of tea. Dad would wake up and drag me out, but do you remember? Do you? Are you there? Is what they say true about the soul? Are you sticky to the gurney still, to the metal that rolls you, waiting for elements ash to finally warm you? Can you feel my hand cradle your head like how you felt mine on your thigh? The first and last times are things we never forget, used to say, and I didn't know till now that maybe you meant life and death. Your strange kindness has kept at temperature with coroners. Whilst prepare your flowers and eulogy. A piece of writing that will always feel unfinished and unfair, because I don't really know if you loved me. Yet my graduation photos show a face of pride, and the walls of your rooms are wallpapered with growing faces. Tell me how you loved us. I never knew how much I needed you till you smiled. I never wanted your attention, but it mattered if intentions were spoken like spilled guts on best shoes. Intestinal constricting contradictions have taken my best side. Alliances are tactical sciences, bloodbath feuds have just gone for miles. I'm scared, and now I'm lost to the questions of whys. Points that will never be concluded. Riddle me this. I want to tell you I spoke to a dead man walking. I want to ask you why his advice is inked into my skin. Stories of chainsaws meeting flesh and empty bellies. Haunt me and tell me why. You blessed my faults with so many broken hearts. Christen this history. Baptize it and tell me. Get Ouija and knock once for yes and twice for no, because I've got that break and smile because you changed the locks. Nostalgia has me scavenging for comfort against your will and testament. Feeling snake-eyed and winged like a vulture, I'm heavy and weighed down with death, this weird creature, and have succumbed to its pensive nature. A magpie to memories. Curse my kleptomania for your smell, your hair. I'm trying to find you. I'm home again. Thank you. So yeah, my mum died. And it was a bit of a strange time because the church that brought me up and still had a job for her is a fundamental Christian church, pretty much. And if anybody's not familiar with what fundamental Christianity is, it's shit, and it's harsh and brutal and cruel, and basically they were there up until the very, very, very fucking end, and made it really, really difficult for me to sort of deal with the grieving process. And I wrote this poem about sort of the difficulties that I was having within my family, my friends, the funeral itself, the loss, And it's called God is an Algorithm. God is an algorithm I don't understand. Decency is degenerating on all fronts quicker than her corpse. My good luck rots in waters. This omen is rare. Feathers drowned and submerged, their meanings mistaken to be God. Thoughts are bubbling up. I'm remembering friends that left me, those that caught me. Yours are the moments that set me free. A lesson expensive in time, learnt again and again of who will go and who will stay. Chaos theory. I'm home with empty hands and bones that require scaffolds. Eyes once young have become old, and they view our years of growth and wonder where the time has gone. Kathy's coffin chrysalis is the conclusion, cocooned further by dead deities and a Norman church. Too many deprived days have passed like my sleep I'll never get back. Oh, brother, come shiver with grief beside me. I hear you break as I stumble behind our only one. Surveying the cross between stone and pillars, honouring the good, the bad, the ugly, I won't play to the melody. Beautiful habitual hauntings, Father, Son, the holy abandoned, because this is my monumental memory. The chink in my armour, my chainmail. The children without their mother. A trio torn apart by each other. The only thing we did together, mama and pup spitting and snarling in unison, biting tongues and cheeks and claws and backs, defending no matter, without knowing why. Our love blood bowls are empty, and now these helpful hands wish to feed as we search to fill those holes fulfilling. No one can take her place, though. No one wants to. Thank you. So yeah, it was a bit of a strange time. I definitely believe that I grew up, I guess, once my mum passed away. I guess that's the moment I was like, okay, right, I'm an adult now. And all this other bullshit came with it, which is fucking hectic. But sort of going back in time again, back to therapists and mental health conditions. I've had a lot of them. I've been in therapy since I was 18. And this particular poem is written about one person called Matilda, who was a cunt. An absolute cunt. And it goes like this. I'm argumentative, defiance, the defensive. Is this assessed? No. I don't care about the room. We haven't even begun. Her wrong move, assumption. Sorry. No, nothing, all you say is wrong. I just don't know you from Adam. Do your homework. Read my file. Step down. Step the fuck down. Political stigmas and their pedestals, your tangents, my confusion. Articulate before the trigger, I'm down. Crowned and bowing. You're a puppeted clown owned. She's asking me a question. A pause and gulp, almost swallowing my tongue, digesting the patronization. Her autopilot robot explanation. The sound behind her intention, the scratch of her pen. Scribbles of not so secret sins. I don't want to say it all again. Picked up and put down again. Thank you. She wasn't a nice therapist. Didn't last long. So the beauty of therapy is sometimes you can choose. This is another poem about the difficulties that I faced with my mum. Difficulties that I faced in relationships and a combination of all of that, and it's called Touched. I'm poorly written and stained in inspiration, like secret sealed school notes read out for humiliation, remembered years later with a pained blush. Open the window and let out my soul. Welcome the cold in. Thaw out those farewells, because nothing compares to the sensation of a forehead when it was kissed. Ghost Romy Stanglia, nostalgia. My home is ashes. Strands of hair are relics kept in OXO tins for Sunday roasts that were never served. Morbid keepsakes to keep safe while the rhythm of rain keeps time. And kindness comes with suspicion and a flinch, because hindsight's a bitch and sewing the seams for a loneliness that dreams viciously. A vintage misery barking accuracy, gnawing at old wounds. She was a blade, and I'm still paper, crumbling under pressure, a gravitas equal to setting suns and ultimatums. Relentlessness stings an emotional flesh that never surrenders or forgets. And these raw, shredded stitches disintegrate like how the grass blows when it's cut, but it's never greener, just darker, like the shadows when that light hit their faces, slowly turning into my mother's. Why did I keep falling, searching in wrong places? Should have taken a break at the apostrophe and dash, rewind when the lines got racked quick and thin like mercury. Passed out dreaming of lobotomies. Still, I was none the wiser for knowing. Stay hidden in the attic, lay long enough to heal and become floor. Feel me as you walk. Follow sweet Robin's song to soothe an A&E for shattered hearts that ain't broken, just tired. Because if I love you was a promise, then they broke it rolling along the mendips. Echoic memory of protective cries as emotive tornadoes tore through, urges, balled fists for hot liquids, blister identity's essence, destroy everything that she ever touched. Will my hands always look like hers? Thank you. It's a bit weird clapping to the poems, isn't it? I'm really sorry. So, was that a clap? Oh, it's a ball. I thought you were clapping. So sometimes when I write my poems, I find it better to see it in front of me. And this poem is a combination of verses that I wrote on my bathroom wall. I have tiles on my bathroom wall, and you know those kiddie baby crayons? They are fucking perfect if you're trying to sort of like figure out an idea and you want it in front of you like a presentation board. This shit just washes straight off in the shower. And if you're like, you know, you can look at it in the shower. You can rehearse poetry if there's like a full poem right in front of you. It's helpful. And these verses are all sort of a combination of all the verses I wrote on my wall that I couldn't quite turn into poems. And they all just, in the end, fitted all together. And it's called Heavier Than Lead / You Smell Sweeter. I stand in my bathroom. Tiles are covered in poetry. Scrawls from crayons like the child inside me, now adult, is talking. Misspelt, messy notes, unkept spellings unstrung like how I wear my noose ready. Intrinsically, I am tangled in the nonsensical. A narrative twisted from a sick disconnect. The lack of everything. This depression is osmium. I sway from room to room. It's the masks I wear and frown hidden. To some, just a couple of stitches. Shows bravery. A resilience lost in the system. Please, take it back. I don't want this double helix. Who asks for this? Euthanize and put to bed this walking symptom of parents raising voices and not the children. There is no peace without war. Put me out of my misery. Give me mercy. Pray this curse will forget because they say sleep is a healer, right? No sense or grammar to take heed and process. No pause between the pains because it might not get any better. Astronomically, I marked my ceiling hoping you'd find me like a mother should. These wide-eyed sockets cradle a calendar of lost sleep, roll in rhythms left to right, constant like tinnitus. A metronome on my lens, searching for signs, proof because your actions spoke different. Mouth muscle twisters, my catharsis, describe the appeasals to cruel natures, a purge multiplied from heartless bones, an ivory that scolds with a hook line, it'll sink ya. The gravity pulls at my feet, forced to my knees, palm on chest, supporting the weight of my heartbreak. A stapled tongue chips at these teeth. Words bleed like watercolor, gather and pool in this mouth, spilling out, tearing from the suppression. My truth once suspended, fabricated and told their lies like clockwork. Tell me I'm the monster sitting in this cage, and I'll pretend to like the facade. Something to avoid. And I'll lick the spit from my lip because you ain't worth the phlegm or the fight. Look away from the devil you do than the devil you don't. I'm all that's left, the quasi alone. It's apparently better that way. The sadness contorts my spine. Disfiguration, disassociation, take steps back, three's the charm to a breathing space, a cliche calm. Touch white walls in mind for nurturing. No lines form that face though. Therapist says, hold the thought. Forgive yourself. Keep trying. It's a skill set. Find compassion. But each kindness I am suspicious of disappearing. Like a problem they are ridding. Stains on a vow. So wash me. My mum always said I was dirty. Thank you. I keep looking at my set list. Yeah. Can't quite read my writing. So this next poem is called Linear Perspective, which is another long titled poem that Nick likes. When I find it. And it's a little bit of a poem where I was just like, you know what? Fuck you. I was having issues with a venue. I was having issues with so many things. And some people would say, oh, you're just a one-hit wonder. You know, you just do what Simon says and that's all you do. And I was like, well, I've got other poems. That's the one I've memorized and I feel confident with. And there was lots of things where people would be like, oh, are you okay afterwards? And I'm just like, yeah, I'm just doing a depressing poem, but I'm fine. Like, I'm not having a meltdown. I'm fine. And it kind of got a bit irritating in a way, because I felt like people weren't listening to what I was saying. They just thought I was being this depressed emo poet, you know, and putting out a bunch of stuff and then walking away and not having a point. So this is basically written about that. And it's called Linear Perspective, creating a convincing illusion of a three-dimensional space on a flat surface. The long titles. And it goes like this. Don't you worry about me, I'm a fence line perching, silent observer, insomniac, sad black sheep loner, leaving you with eerie wordworms. Repeat these squirms like mantras. There's a vibration of histories in these gums, but in controversies abstracted, contrary to popular belief with choked Heimlich removers for nature versus nurture. Who's crazier or saner? Stand on fault lines, they pass the blame, but I embody the refusal to never apologize as a victim of your will. Even bullshit sticks to a glorified equal. Split families, my tribes, weighted with whispers from devils and angels on shoulders, ticking off the pros and cons for picking corners. Did my resilience shock you as you turned a blind eye? Please don't be concerned. My tightened roaches make it smoother, put it in your pipe, tokes to be a soother, making ugly beautiful again. Pre-packaged pretty pain. My truth is a spike, lodged in the back of throats, isolate the verse and buffer leaky stomach linings and swallow, soaking up what you couldn't absorb on your autopilot journey to work. And I mean no harm if you're offended, just the ranting and ravens of someone feeling corrupted and misled. Keep on writing it down because they like the view I paint, bringing it up close and personal if you need to squint, dissect to understand the sentence, symbiotic, cathartic chest breaks, alliterate to emphasize what it's taken, what it takes. Don't pity me with an oh poor you, then offer prayer. I need that like a bullet, like the Golgotha of shit in my head. Put it on hold with a fistful of pennies for thoughts whilst they predict my disaster, as I stare back at the world like it's canvassed by artists you'd never heard of, like Rothko or Richter. Thank you. Yeah, all my poems are a little bit of they've got a bit of a fuck you in them. This one definitely does. This one requires a little bit more of an explanation. So the person that I mentioned in the break before, when I destroyed the Porsche, his name was Kuma. He was with my mum for 10 years, but he was also already married with 2 children. My mum stayed with him despite this. He also became abusive. So at this point, it became my dad, Ian the babysitter, and then it became Kuma at around 14. He was an interesting one. I mentioned this in the poem, but it was a bit of a crucial time for my mum. She really wanted the stability of a relationship, and she found this guy through a singles night called Gingerbread in Cambridge, which was single families pretty much. And he put himself down as a single father with a kid, his son. And they had this thing where if you had a car, you could be a taxi service for free, and you could get these single parent families out to these events and get them in the community. Standard. Sounds pretty cool, right? But he was lying, and he basically got my mum into this relationship, and he was also seeing other women on the side, and Friday night became her night because every other night he was seeing some other woman. He was a quite difficult one for me to write about because, like my dad, he kind of became a bit of a father figure. But this is called Deuteronomy. A rebel with too many causes, Kuma, a name for some. Don't mention you much, but I'm not done with this yet. Disturb the comfortable and roll those eyes to rest in dark rooms where elephants hide. Give me the rules and break 'em for a teen trapped sempiternal, answering to nothing, glare full of scarring, pink and shiny, full of collagen. Don't tell me the length of it. Got a tally with a story alongside 'em. Just born in a time when the quiet ended, twisted trees grew tired and violent, separated, futures suspended, levitated, lingering like a curse, picking at nails, hiatus, that waiting for a kindness, lips chapped, thirsting for cyanide fantasies, visions, killing reasons, murder of crows left on the river, floating marine. A body like crime scenes, revisited by the killer, sat upon the embankment, nursing the mud like a wound. Told to pray, find peace in purgatory and trust the apostle. Save it for Sunday school. But that's just careless when you're born to serpents. Watch them slither down the side of your bed. Repent, shouted our preacher, forced to wonder for the saints hanging, taking names, endless lists, sinful grudges for Thomas at the gates, like a gargoyle, ward away for this soul to keep and sleep now. In the morning, you'll wake to find that deity, who's got love, but a funny way of showing its omnipotence. Father figures, saying you got to feel it to believe, like the gulp of a whale, faithful flames, a demon cast from pigs and rolling stones on long weekends. The mustard seeds fell away for a gaze craving attention, something selfish, tales of bread and fish and Exodus honey. This God of plenty, many, weren't holy to this ghost, just neighbours to my struggle, hell. Better to just be strangers, 'cause what good's free will when you're dancing on fine lines, blind in the fog, led out like nursery rhymes, learning all they do, split in two. But if I had a heart just like they wanted me to, man, I'd give anything to be just like you, 'cause this was normal. Out of faith in a place wild in, feral frontal done in, no protection, curl up fetal. I was so easily taken, like that time sat in his Porsche, box to hold my fears, and 14/15, and this anatomy was theirs. Conclude and change the memory to search for safety. Recite an overcast sky of muted colours with roads bending left, right, leaving my village, horizons of the fens. Hedgerows marked the time standing still when we parked, taking my hand, following a path to a clearing. A mess of brambles branch, thicket surrounds like a choke, his embrace, too young to understand intent behind forced yet familiar treatment. Open your mouth. Swallow sick, reciprocate, submit to my mother's boyfriend, who's married already, in Harston, in a house where we chose bedrooms, and a few weeks later we realised it was for his wife and 2 kids. Footnote the bullshit, because she stayed with him for 10 years. This perversion, a nausea, creeper, swell with a burning, like the ashy black bridges blistering, red, orange, clipping my heels, running forward, fawn, take flight in the mind. Better to walk beside than fight underneath. All 3 are so heavy, so phase out, hazy, everything's blurry, and we drive. Speakers blaring Robbie Williams. I care for sodomy. I don't know, yeah, probably. I've been looking for serial monogamy. Don't look. I don't want to see your desire through the rear view when we get home. Oi, the last one in, shut the door. And then she mumbles something like, the fuck's wrong with you? Gotta love how it's all on the kid. Never happy. Muttering and snarling, foaming and asking for respect. There's no cut like her mother's, and with that spit still on my cheeks, I'm not her likeness. Just alone, fixing her fucking mistakes, I say saved for the therapist. Thank you. He was a bit of a strange one, to say the least. It's always a bit of a strange experience having somebody who's like a parental figure and then they suddenly change. just trying to find the next one. So this one, I'm not actually sure. Is it in here? No. I have to find it now. So this poem is written about a breakup. This is not in the book. Basically, I am currently writing, in process, drafting and writing the second book to that one. And it will feature basically poems that I've written about my life, but also love poems. When I find it. It was written literally the night after the breakup. And I just had my teeth taken out. So I wasn't very well. But this is just like a little bit of a feature of what will come into the next book. And it's called When We Die, We Lose 21 Grams. And they say this is how much a soul weighs. Another long title for you. And it goes like this. Orion's belt has passed 180 degrees around a house that is not mine. I'm belonging now to doorsteps asking to sleep with snakes with welcoming host nests on sofas. Smoke is blown. Protective rings form above our heads. Friendship can be found in strangers' faces. My stomach is a knot of homesickness. Worse when there is no home. You're only a stone's throw away, yet further than before. And the spit from those words still hang in the air. Like blunt cuts throbbing, they vibrate, describing a person unwantable, unlovable, unsuitable. My colours are an antibiotic grey. They bleed into the rain, faded from a purple bruising chest. Eyes wide like mirrored mirages on the edge of the universe, asking that age-old question, why is this happening? Heidi says it's abuse, and the ground hits my head because the carpet was ripped. The gravity of standard has bent kind light false. No patience. Like dead stars and black holes kneeled down in precious stone pressure, panic attacks and circumstance reassured that my 21 grams are not enough. Revocalized verbs devalue my validity. They are reminisced to remain, because anger meant it this time. Thank you. So yeah, that is just a little bit of a feature of what will be in the next book. And I'm working on the title, but at the moment it's called Toe Rag, which was basically the loving nickname my mother used to give me. Obviously, mental health and BPD, sometimes these come with coping mechanisms and aren't exactly what we'd call healthy. And this is basically about drug use and self-harm, pretty much. And it's called Blood Tax. Bought white sheets as a deterrent, because this relapse really do feel imminent. Typical. Don't want to ruin my things, but I ruin everything else. Confused ink in the iris. They took my life like how lovers promise and angels kissed across a line. Infuriate your maker. To follow after when hearts don't beat, just a dead DNR beep. Star crosses mark where you met, coordinates to something cold and heavy. Are you still alive, cutie pie? Fooled for gold, a Midas touch, issues bubble up under surface, aching with a crunch. Dunno what I do, like bad habits, not unwell, just disordered. And it's true, they had enough. Own worst enemy. Got the splitting monster in me. Pressure so tight, so test my limitations. See him run to the hills and get automatic, quick like electric. An emo radio static. Rheumatic, emotive scaffold, splinter under the weight in a silence so quiet. I ache from the bullets caught with teeth, and when you roll those eyes and move your mouth, I realise it's just a reflection, because I've been staring at myself. Thank you. So, have to remind myself what this one's about. It's got a bit of a interesting title again. I like my interesting titles, so just don't judge me. I like things to be cryptic. I like making people think. And this is called Le Petit Mort, which is small death. That's the translation, or basically in French it means small orgasm, or orgasm, I think. Think I've bitten my tongue too much. It's so easy to swallow and hold that breath. And one day I won't. Reminds me of, but blue might be a good colour of me. Allow, roll and tap. Pass me a lighter for a glowing. Mind of glass and heart of concrete, calmly crumbling. Lost without a home to call my own, reversing to sand and stone, 'cause asphalt ain't forever. Take it on the chin from a skull filled with verbal berating. Inner tuition's gone AWOL, equal to physical. The pain, yeah, you've heard it all before, daily. Heavy beats of fear bang on this chest, L on my forehead and an inner cochlea full of red. Gurgle and spit down the drain, all those aspirations and airy standards crossed out like a trending cancellation. Diagnose the dose for contamination. Evidence ain't passed, no sell-by date. Infectious and viral, high level up to the eyeball. Need to live with it. Need to live with it though. Want to live without it still. So grin and bear broken teeth, the bruise the size of a soul. I try and find rest, but the fears bite me up. Bed bugs. There's always been a parasite in my room. Insomnia only blinks 40 winks when the mitazapine hits, the sleep tight and capsuled slumbers. 0 REM for the rut I'm in, and then it's morning. Rinse and repeat to see the effects like wax on, wax off, burning the candle from both ends, but before leaving, scratch my back and see how bright the matchstick gets. I'll sideburn, rabbit-eared and canoe, for Schitt's Creek and ankle deep, swallowed baked heat, for hot rocks for your esophagus, slow smoky burials, one for right, one for the left. Fill them up like that 10% capacity. So many seasons, but a perfect year ain't one, like perennial weeds, annual defiance, horticultural battlefields. But be careful when picking them. Stem anger at the root of the problem. Class for coping mechanisms 101. Pick noses and knuckle down. Examine that shit like tea leaves and let me know if you've got a better solution. Thank you. Sorry, my stammer's a little bit. I can feel my tongue misbehaving. So we have sort of come to the end. Almost. Usually I will end with this one, but my other one is actually my ending. So this is a bit of a positive poem to sort of finish everything off. As you probably noticed, there's a non-binary flag here. I'm non-binary. Obviously, my pronouns are they, there, and them. A couple of years ago, I was on a train, coming back from here, I think it was, on a train, and there was a man on the train who I got into a conversation with. He knew a mutual friend of mine, and we got into a conversation, and we started talking about gender and LGBTQI plus stuff, and he turned around and said that I couldn't be non-binary. I couldn't exist out of the binary. And he kind of got a bit pissed off, and I got a bit pissed off, and as I walked home, obviously I put pen to paper and sort of tried to put my feelings there to sort of try and make myself feel better, because I felt a bit defeated. And it's called Challenge Everything. Because they don't understand it doesn't mean you can't be it. Life is a turn and a twist of things unfathomable, of things so beautiful they are unquantifiable. But they are real. Shaped by experience congealment, your identity is not up for argument. Life is not just black and white, and we are different shades. Who you are is not a debate. Debate the opening statement. This has to be this has to be that. You can't be this, you can't be that. Challenge society's cement. Question the rules they are hell-bent on making you bow and bend to my lovers, weirdos, and friends. To those I'll never meet again, you define your lines, growing on delicate spines, your faults, whinges, and whines. They result in your shine. Be original. Make this mine. But be kind. Be loving. Be respectful. Show them your soul. The only person you are is you. Remember, unique is spelt with a U. Thank you. So yeah, I'm RKP. You've basically heard my entire set of not all my poems, but yeah, I hope you've enjoyed. Which is a bit of a weird thing to say, but I hope you've enjoyed. Obviously, if you like my stuff, I'm on social media. I have a book. If you would like a copy, there is going to be a second book. But yeah, thank you so much for coming. It's a bit weird standing up here and having the time to sort of go through it one by one, but I hope it all makes a little bit more sense. And yeah, I'm going to finish on this one. It's called End of the Line. Promises hang like cigarettes. They dance like shadows on walls, disappearing when a hopeful light draws closer. This tempo is unclean. The bass is eating. What do you want with a devil like me? Fancy some shameful company? Called a clever chameleon. See easily moldable, budging the rules. What you gonna do about it? That's it, nothing at all. Don't swear to God, 'cause he didn't ask you. Prayer is dank breath on the air. And my roar is that creak in your door as you creep along the floor to turn the light off. Not in. Don't answer. There's no room in the inn. And your mother says, oh dear, because I gotta go because my tablets are kicking in. Weak link feeling. Lloyd Bronwyn's cold in his family, and his pedigree ain't sound. Ancestral abuse stops with me, make good the prison your home. Jail bars quiver anxiously. Skin up, breathe out, accepting mindset. I'm alone. We're alone. Did you know there's a supermassive black hole slowly sucking us down? The pressure take and fold. The Milky Way is a dark, cloudy Monday beginning just to end. Is this to exist? No presence? Because we got in the blink of your baby's existence. It's a different politic. Queer perspectives, conspiratorial speculations, and thoughts drip at me like wet cakes. Voices push past colour like supernovas. Oh, father, leave my frontal lobe. Grab Juju's tool. There's no point. Tune in, turn off, drop out, drop the remote. Fancy reading an 11-year-old social report. They're stuck, and we forget that rabbit lights throw you. And here we go again, you're plugged into the troubles of a loser. You see the reality, what they did to me if our bodies weren't healers. All the bruises, all the lines, love bleeds. An evil eye, nostrils and lungs. I'm ugly, no features, just middleman numbers. Would you meet me at the gates? A bothersome burdened, black-tarred and feathered soul. Do you think they'd call out my names? Count your piggies, cross those digits. Thoughts those branches carry me lingers. Dead bodies like pendulums. I carry pain like it's currency. History is messy, paying for it daily, eating mud 3 squares a day, never moving for a falling down the hole I dug because I just couldn't stop saying, sorry. Thank you. That was Missy. Timing, perfect. That was gorgeous. Everybody, thank you so much. It's been awesome. Hopefully I'll get to do this again because I'd love, this has been really fun. But yeah, thank you so much. It's been awesome. Please buy my stuff if you'd like to. Also, thank you to the Art House for letting me stand on your stage and do my words, because usually I'm just here at Moving Voices. So. Thank you. I know who that is. Thank you, Katie. And Frankie, yeah. And Carrie. Well, thank you, everybody who's been watching at home, and thank you, everybody who came in. It's been a bit of a weird time, hasn't it, these last couple of days? And I hope I've ended it with some more weirdness for you. But yeah, take care of yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Bye.